Okay, so I'm looking to do something a bit different today. I'm going to talk about graduate roles, what I think about graduate roles, if they're good, if they're worth it, my experience with a graduate role, my negative experience about it. All right, cool. So graduate roles, this is mainly going to be aimed to people in the UK. In other countries, it's probably a bit different. But how it works in the UK is that typically you go to university, you get your degree, and then in the last year of your degree, normally you start applying for jobs. Yeah, and we got these things called graduate jobs where it's normally 36 months or 3 years. You do the graduate job, you get experience doing the job, and then once you do that, you basically stay at the company and effectively just get promoted so you can now do the job. Okay, cool. So, just for background, I come from a chemistry background, right? So, I did a 4 year chemistry master's, but once I quickly started chemistry, I quickly realized that, I don't think this chemistry thing is for me. I don't want to work in a lab or anything like that. But I understand chemistry is a good degree. I know I got a lot of transferable skills and I can definitely use that somewhere else. There's a lot of maths involved in it as well. And then I also read online that when it comes to these finance jobs, you don't actually have to do accounting and finance, economics, maths, or anything like that. You can do a big array of subjects. So I figured, you know what? I'm going to do my chemistry degree, then I'll do a finance grad role. Great. But I'm going to be honest, I didn't really have that much knowledge in finance. I just thought it sounded good. Cool. So let me quickly just break down how these work. So you apply for them. Now, when it comes to these graduate jobs and any job you get, but especially graduate jobs, they're extremely competitive and they're difficult to get into. And there's a number of hoops that they're going to ask you to go through. So first of all, you're going to have to do the application, which in itself, that just takes a long time filling everything out. But cool, you do the application, great. Then what's going to happen is pretty much all of them, or any decent sized company, they're going to send you these tests to do. Now, these tests, there's many different things in them. Some of them verbal reasoning, some of them English and grammar, a lot of them kind of maths based, like problem solving questions. But these are long. These take an hour and a half, 2 hours. They're very, very difficult as well. So you're going to spend a couple hours doing them and you might fail a lot of them. You're going to spend a lot of time doing them. They're not easy. Cool. So let's say you do those tests and you pass those tests. Great. If you pass any of those tests, then in general, you're a pretty smart person because they're difficult. But great, you pass the test. Happy days. Then you've got another stage now. Now you've got the video interview. Okay? So with the video interview, it might not be what you think, right? So the video interview is not like you're face to face with someone and you're talking to them like that. It's not like that at all. It's literally, you've got your phone, your laptop or whatever, you're looking at the screen, and then they basically, maybe it'll be about 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, there'll usually be a series of questions on there and activities for you to do, or sometimes they'll kind of give you information on a screen, and you need to kind of use your deductive reasoning to figure out how best to answer the questions that they give you. But then they'll also ask you questions about maybe why you want the job, why you applied for your specific role, what you bring to the table, and all that kind of stuff. So trying to do those is quite difficult. So you're going to need to do preparation for those so you actually know what to say and how to answer those. But the video interviews, I'm going to be honest, they're quite difficult. So if you even get to the video interviews, you've done a good job. But cool, you do the video interviews, you're really happy with yourself. I've done the written test, I've done the video interviews, I've passed them, great. That should be it, right? Wrong. Now you've got what's called an assessment center. Okay, so an assessment center, how they're going to frame it to you is that it might be like a normal interview, but that's not the case. It's not the case at all. So how these typical assessment centers work, especially with these finance jobs, normally you'll go in and it'll be the whole day, maybe 9 till about 3, I'd say, a good 6 hours, maybe sometimes even 9 to 5 a lot of the time. And literally, you'll have about 3 to 4 different tasks that you have to do. Normally, what it consists of is that you'll have a one-on-one interview with someone in the company or maybe a couple of people. So that's a one-on-one interview you'll have, okay? You'll 100% you'll have a group task. Yeah, so you and the other candidates, you're going to have to maybe read some information, talk about some information, and there's going to be examiners next to you looking to see how you talk to each other, how you respond to each other. These are people you don't know, by the way. Yeah, so one-on-one interview, you got your group task, and then you might also have like a presentation that you have to do with one person as well, or maybe another person. But yeah, so you got a presentation normally you'll have to do. So what will happen is that they might give you 30 minutes to read some information, and you need to kind of come up with a whole kind of plan of action, and then you might be talking to someone about it. Then they're going to ask you questions about the thing that you just read. So you're going to need to be able to do a call and response, think on your feet really quickly. It's quite difficult. It's something that you can't really prepare for, but you need to kind of just mentally be super, super switched on with those. So those are three of the tasks, and then sometimes a fourth task that they'll give you is that they might ask you to kind of do a summary, answer some summary questions of like what you did in the day, what you enjoyed about it, what you learned about the day, and what you can kind of bring to the company. Now, it's quite weird doing those questions because you don't know how to answer it, but to be safe, make sure you're answering those fully. You're talking about what you can bring to the company and why you think the company is going to be beneficial for you as well. So it seems like it's a mutual thing so that you'll gain from the company and that they'll gain as well. And also with these assessment centers, what sometimes happens is that during the lunch hour, they'll bring people from the company that work there to kind of do a bit of a Q&A with you guys. Now, I'm not sure if those parts are kind of examined, but I always thought, you know what, just ask questions, because in case for whatever reason it is being examined, just ask questions and make it seem like you're involved, just in case maybe they have some level of input of it if you get the job or not. So that's kind of the overview of how these assessment centers work. So that's pretty much how mine went. So I did my written test, a couple hours, did my video interview, passed those, then I had my assessment center. So I did this all in 2020 as well, by the way. So mine was during the year of the pandemic, but I had the assessment center and the interview before that was all done. So I think they contacted me in, I want to say maybe January, maybe late January. No, you know what? They contacted me early January, actually, sorry. And then I think I had my assessment center maybe the following week or maybe 10 days after that. So I had a bit of time to prep. Everyone is different though. For me, I knew nothing about accounting, and I had my own uni exams to do, and I had my dissertation to do at the time. So for me, I didn't really want to spend a lot of time trying to revise any finance or accounting stuff. My thing is that what I would do is just learn the basics of the company, just learn whatever the company's values are. Literally just go on the company's website, look at whatever key facts about the company they've got, so you can maybe talk about them in a one-to-one interview. But you don't need to really go in depth too much about the company. Main thing is just know the basics of the company, know what the role title you're applying for is, and maybe just be able to answer like why you wanted that specific role. Cool. So now you do the assessment center. Went into the assessment center, as I said, first of all we started with the group task. So when you got to do the group task, and the thing with the assessment center, so imagine I said how difficult it was trying to get the interview, doing the first step, which is the test, okay, doing the video interview. Now you've got the assessment center. With my assessment center, there's 8 of us. And I know, okay, in my head, I'm thinking out of the 8, they're probably going to pick 2 of us. And that's pretty much what it was. In the end of the day, I think they ended up picking 2 out of the 8 of us. But of the people that were already there, you got people that went to Oxford, Cambridge, LSE, all these different companies. And the company I'm talking about wasn't even a Big 4 company. It was a big company, but it wasn't even Big 4. And you got all of these people applying for this role. So this is trying to actually show you how competitive this stuff is. And even if you do have a uni degree and you've got a first or whatever, you're not guaranteed any of this stuff because you've got all of these things, you've got all these hoops to kind of go through. So assessment center day, you go in, did the group task first. For me, I was most nervous about the group task because it's the one thing that you can't, it's harder to kind of judge the group task. As in, so I can, because I know all the other things are on me, I know beforehand, as long as I'm confident in myself, I can do it. But with the group task, you're kind of relying on the other people being a certain way. So when you do go in, make sure you are kind of friendly to people and you build a bit of a rapport quickly with people so that when it does come to the group task, it kind of seems a bit more fluid and you can do well. But I think the group task is the main thing to kind of worry about. But there's not really much to kind of revise for these assessment centers. But long story short, did the assessment center, so did the group task, great. Did the one-on-one interview next. Then I think I did a presentation in front of this someone that worked there. And then I had to write kind of a summary, do some summary questions of the day. It was from 9 till about 3:30, I want to say. 6.5 hours, great. The thing that I applied for, I'm going to be honest, I don't even know. This is the thing. Okay, when you're applying for these things, there's going to be loads of different titles. So be aware of the title that you're actually applying for. I think that for me, because I did chemistry and I wasn't in finance, with the respective titles, I wasn't really sure what the difference between a lot of them actually were. So if I've got 20 different titles, me reading what they are, it was kind of helpful, but not really. So I think the thing that I picked was called, I think it was called like financial compliance advisory or something like that. Like maybe I can figure it out, but it was something like that, right? So I applied for that. Apparently it's quite a niche thing. Applied for that, did the assessment center, thought it went decently, cool, great. So then about maybe a week later, maybe 10 days later, I get a call from a lady saying that I got bad news and I got good news. So the fact she said that there's good news, I'm thinking, okay, give me the bad news first. Okay, so she said the bad news was that basically out of the 8 of us, they could only pick 1 or 2 of us. We thought you were really good, but this role specifically, you know what she said actually? The specific thing that I applied for, there's only 1 out of 8 can be picked. Normally they pick more out of the group, but the one that I applied for, the financial compliance or whatever, that was quite niche. She said the good news is that we liked you so much and we've got space in the audit section. Would you be willing to come down to basically interview with the audit manager, and then if you're happy, you can get the role? And at this time, these graduate roles are so difficult to kind of even get into. There's so many hoops you have to go through when you're applying. So for me, I had no clue what audit was. I had no clue what, like, I don't know, the tax department was. I had no clue what cybersecurity was, internal audit, and all this kind of stuff. So I just wanted to get in the door. So I was like, yeah, cool, fine. So then I think the next week I went for an interview with the head of audit. Interview was literally 10 minutes, maybe even 5 minutes. He literally just wanted to see that I had my head screwed on right. Basic questions, it was fine. So once I did it, I was like, oh, that's fine. Like, it should be all right. Great. So then the next week, I think this was early February 2020. Next week I got the phone call saying I got the job. Great. Happy days. Now, with this graduate role, I was meant to start in September, but because the pandemic happened, I didn't actually end up starting until the end of November. And because of the pandemic, it was from home. So my experience is a lot different to maybe a normal experience. But mine was from home, which a lot of people would like. But for me, starting a new graduate role, I would want to be in person because I'm a very hands-on person. And when it comes to my learning, I'm just not really that good with this online stuff. Cool. So I started at the end of November. Now, what I did not know is that for these finance roles, again, maybe I unresearched or whatever, but until you're in the company, you might not know. But with these finance roles, I think pretty much all finance graduate schemes, you're going to have to do these either ACA exams, they're called, ACCA exams, or I think there's another set called SEMA. There might be some more, but those are the ones that I'm aware of. So I know other people that did accounting and finance and economics. In university, you can do certain exams, and if you pass the exams or you get above like 50% in the exams, you get exemptions from those exams, so that when you do your graduate role, you don't have to do them anymore. So for example, for me, when I went in, my contract was 3 years, and I was required to do 15 ACCA exams. But, or maybe it was ACA, I can't even remember. But one of my friends who had done accounting and finance, because he had passed a lot of his exams in uni, I think he only had to do about 8 exams, which makes a huge difference. So me going in, I'm finding out I got 15 exams. I'm like, okay, this is a bit crazy. And imagine I started at the end of November. My first 3 exams, so you've got something called certificate level, you've got professional level, and you've got advanced level. So I think you've got 6 certificate exams, 6 professional exams, and 3 advanced exams, yeah? So certificate exams was the first one. And how it works is that I had an accounting exam, I had an assurance exam, and I had a tax exam, right? So I don't know how other companies work, but for my company, because we started at the end of November, by I think it was the 3rd of January, I had to do all 3 exams. 3rd of January, 4th of January, I had to get all 3 exams done. So I did accounting and audit on that first day. Then the next day I did tax. Now, okay, what I want to say is that anyone who's done these exams knows the amount of work that needs to be put in to do them. I'm gonna be honest, because I did chemistry, I was coming in not arrogant, but I thought, okay, if I've done a chemistry master's, got a 2-1, Russell Group University, I'm thinking, okay, accounting, there's no way it can be more difficult. It might be hard, but there's no way it can be more difficult. But then when it came to actually starting to revise for the exams, and imagine I'm having to start the actual job as well as also revise for the exams. And when I'm trying to revise, there's so much stuff to do. It's crazy because of the pandemic. Everything is so disorganized. Like, it's a lot, and I've got 3 exams. So imagine starting the end of November, and I've got 3 exams within 5 weeks of me starting the company. And how it works is that I think if you fail 2 exams, or if you fail, it's either if you fail an exam twice, then the contract gets ripped up, I think, or if you fail 2 exams, it gets ripped up or something like that. There were some stipulations, and I think if you get under 40%, so the pass mark is 55, by the way, for these exams. So that's damn near 60%. So you got to damn near get a 2-1 in the exams to even pass. But then also, if you get under 40% in an exam, then I think you also get terminated. This was in 2020, so I can't remember the full stipulations, but it was some crazy stuff like that. So, long story short, I'm probably going to have to do another video on it. Long story short, so I start doing the work there. Maybe I'm a bit disorganized, but I really struggle with that at the start. I'm trying to catch up with the exams because of the pandemic as well. Basically, you're meant to go to an exam center to do the exams. With the exam center, at least you can bring a calculator. You can do your working out on like a whiteboard or something like that. But for me, you have to do everything on computer. So when it comes to doing calculations for stuff like accounting and tax on a computer, it is so difficult. Like, it's damn near, or for me at least, it's damn near impossible. You got to do some things called T-tables. So I don't want to make this too long. So long story short, do the exams. I ended up passing assurance. I passed assurance. I think I got 58 or something. The pass is 55. Tax, the first time I did it, I got 47, so I failed that. Accounting, I got 35. So I passed 1, I failed 2. So then already in my head, I'm like, damn, I'm under some pressure now. But because the amount of work I had to put in, it's very demoralizing. Cool. So then I was putting myself under pressure, and then I think I had to book a retake. But my issue with this whole graduate scheme was the disorganization. Like, it felt like any concerns that I had or any time I needed to speak to someone, either I couldn't get through to them. I don't know if this is because it was the pandemic or what, but it seemed like I could never get through to whoever I needed to get through to. I would send people emails, they wouldn't get it back. Or I remember what would happen is that we would have these courses at the start of the thing. When I was working, we would do these induction courses. And I remember a couple times we got homework for the induction course. This annoyed me. I'm not going to make this too long-winded. This annoyed me. So imagine for the induction course, I guess they gave us homework on a Friday. Again, I'm a bit disorganized. Maybe I didn't hear the homework. I don't know. So Monday morning comes now. I ask in the group chat with about 100 people. I ask everyone, yo, was there any homework for... I don't think I was able to jot down if there was any homework last week. Is there any homework? Imagine this is maybe 2 hours before we're meant to start for the day. And I know how it works on the course. With the homework questions, basically you're on video. So they ask you pretty much one by one to answer a question. So I'm like, okay, I know they're going to ask me a question. Was there any homework? Imagine I ask that. And then this is 2 hours before the thing starts. About 45 people read the message. No one even replies. And then it turns out that there was homework. So once that happened, I'm just like, oh my God, these guys are just snakes as well. Like, this is just craziness. I'd failed 2 exams. I knew that I got under 40 in one of them. So I think I had to... I don't even know the stipulation, but basically I had to just make sure I passed the next time I did them. So a few months go by, I'm able to delay exams or whatever, maybe 4 or 5 months in, getting my payments, so I'm happy. But the actual work as well, for me, the way that I learned, I just didn't know what was going on. I felt like I was so off the pace. And again, this is coming from someone that did chemistry. So I'm not a dumb person. I did chemistry, got a 2-1, which is difficult because there's so much information. But me going into this accounting world was like, it was just craziness, absolute craziness. So my advice is that before you're applying and all that, please just beware. Just to sum it up, I ended up lasting about 5 months. I think I did the exam, then I did the exams again. I think I failed accounting again. And then basically, but they weren't getting back to me to let me know if I was going to get fired or whatever. So I was just like, yo, you know what? I'm just going to quit this because I just need to get out of this. Like, this is just not for me. So I did my few months, got my pay, so I was happy with that. I ended up quitting, so I lasted about 5 months. And anyway, I'm doing other stuff now anyway, so it actually helped me. And I felt like I was given a bad hand with the exams being when they were and not being able to do them in the center. The way that I learn is just not going to be helpful for me. But long story short, the key to what I'm saying is that before you apply for graduate roles, mainly these finance roles, please be aware of what you're applying for before you apply. Be aware that you'll probably have 15 ACA or ACCA exams, or maybe you might have less if you've got exemptions, but just be aware of that. Be aware that you're going to be overworked as well. The working hours are normally meant to be 9:30 to 5:30. When you actually start, it's not like that at all. A lot of people end up logging in at like 8 a.m. if you go on the system. People are working till about 7, 8 p.m. You have to do these timesheets. But when you're a graduate, when you're doing these timesheets, they're not like, they're extremely, extremely, extremely reluctant to actually give you the overtime. So you're probably going to be working from 8 in the morning till 7 or 8 at night. And it's just an expected thing because you got this thing called busy season as well from January till around March. So even though the pay is good, the amount of work that you have to do for the pay is not actually kind of written in the contract. So there's a lot of things about the company that I just did not like at all. For me, it was just too disorganized. So I'm happy with what I'm doing now, but that's just my overall experience of doing a graduate role. For me, it was not good. The amount of energy I put into trying to get the role and then seeing what it was and how much of a mess it was when I got there, how disorganized it was, how I didn't like a lot of the people, how it was just how they tried to cram in the exams as well with all the stipulations. For me, it was just crazy. I just couldn't really do it. Maybe it is for a lot of people, but for me, it doesn't work. So if you are applying for these, just beware and just know what you're getting yourself into ultimately. If you've got any questions about graduate roles or whatever, mainly finance ones, if you've got any questions about those, maybe comment them below. I can try and answer them or whatever, the best way that I can, based on my experience and my friend's experience. But yeah.